Hello, hello, Brush.
And that's a great play by the Wiggly Phantoms coming around the right side there and getting a nice splat on the player.
We've had worse. We've had some pretty horrible quality commentating audio before. There's been some commentators I've heard that are like, wow, the things they are saying are really interesting and I love what they're saying, but they sound like they're in the process of falling off a cliff. Like they're on the edge of a cliff and they're like, oh, I think they need more paint if they want to put it. So, sometimes you just take what you can get. Hey, Stinky. Is your mic working today? Cool. Why don't you go commentate a couple of sets? It's easy. Just go on there and just say, absolutely, over and over again. You'll be fine. Other commentator you're with says literally anything, tosses it over to you, first word. Absolutely. I think we should kick puppies and punch kittens in the face. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. I pronounced your name wrong. It's Bandai. Did I call you Bandai? I must have called you Bandai. My bad. I will remember that from now on. Bandai. Absolutely. The game is not over just yet. It's Rainmaker. Anything can happen. I'm a victim of that. I'm a victim of that one. Or not a victim. That's one I'm guilty of that one, is what I'm gonna say. You're afraid to announce a new tourney nowadays. What new tourney are you announcing? A Ludi spinoff? Salmon Run tournament? Where are all the Salmon Run tournaments at? You know, Destiny Troops, we do have a competitive Salmon Run player. And they don't like it when we play Salmon Run with them because we don't do it the right way. Where are all the Salmon Run tournaments at? And where are all the well, I guess you can't really commentate that because you can't spectate a Salmon Run event. So I guess you can't really stream it. You can't run against salmons. Swim? Oh, it should be salmon swim. That makes sense. That makes more sense. Don't forget the other echo. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Thank you for the host. Raichu23. You just said you don't know who Echo is, and in the same statement just assumed his pronouns. Wow. How bold of you. Reds, Blues, Novas, Dans. There's a lot of Omegas, too. Don't forget all the Omegas. A ton of Tub Nugs as well. It's hard to keep track of all the Tub Nugs. Woo yeah, woo yeah, woo yeah, Popcast time. Absolutely. You can't wait for the #2 video game podcast on the internet? Well, when does that start? Because the #1 podcast is about to start in 5 minutes. Huh. Huh. How many Raichus are there? I don't know. Hello, Baki. Thank you for the continued patronage that is your subscription. How many? 23-month subscriber? I should actually get some decent emotes. I need to move that Pop Pog emote. Yes, the dragons did have a waffle. You came to subscribe. You didn't want to flex the fact that you don't have to watch commercials during my stream. The GG's bot. A lot of people named Turtle. There was a low link where we had 4 people named Turtle playing in it. 2 of them were on the same team, and then there was another team called, like, Turtle. There was a team called the Turtles or something like that. I did a mini segment on, like, the stupid team, or stupid player IGNs in a low ink once. And I'm pretty sure there were 4 turtles in a low ink. Hello, Ali Splat. if you come to see where I'm putting Citrus today. If the Citrus is even in my top 10, who knows? I might have them in teams I think is going to make Gamma Bracket this month. At the very least, I think I could say it. You know what? I'm going to make a guarantee right here, right now. 100% chance. If this does not happen, I will. I don't know. I'll wear something beyond embarrassing on the next podcast. If Citrus doesn't drop, they will at least make Gamma Bracket, if not better. Take that, clip it. On God. I don't know. Yes, I will bet my soul on that, Silver. I just feel that confident in Citrus. I mean, they're just that good. Shave my head if Citrus drops. I don't know what I would look like completely bald. I have no idea. I mean, it can't be too much. It can't be too different from this. But like, you guys make fun of me for being bald. Like, you know, like if you saw me actually bald, it would be completely different. Unless it's not. I don't know. There'll be more low inks. You never know. You don't know that. This might be it. One low ink to end them all. This might be the very last low ink, for all you know. I swear, with the type of exemptions that people ask for in the requests, sometimes me and JPEG have a secret DM with each other where it's like, this is it. This is the last low ink. Like, we're blowing this sucker up after this. And then it's like, well, let's try to get one more in. Let's try to do one more. We got one more in us. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, while you're celebrating Sonic's 30-year anniversary, trying to pass your stick figures off as art so you can play in Shinex's tournament, trying to come up with clever bald jokes that nobody has made 100 times before. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. Hey, we got a tournament this weekend. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called Ink Low or something like that. Today we're going to be previewing it, but registration for this tournament is still open. If you're a Div 5 and below team, I swear to Christ, if we get one more Div 4 person trying to get an exemption request into this tournament. Regardless, registration closes tomorrow. That is Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I believe that is it's either 8 or 7 or something like that. Regardless, if you register right here, right now, you don't have to worry about, oh, am I missing the deadline or not? And it gives us more time to verify your team because you like TOs and you like supporting your TOs. Register now so that we don't have to stay up Friday night verifying you guys. Other thing kind of want to point out, we always need subs. Always need subs. So if you are somebody who doesn't have a team and you want to play in low ink, guess what? You can very easily get into this low ink anyways. Go to the sub channel in the IPL's low ink section and submit your sub application. We need subs every time, every single month. We have teams that have to drop because there's not enough subs. They need a sub, emergency sub, and they don't have, and they're all gone. So fill out a sub application now, even if you don't have a team, or if you are on a team that isn't playing this upcoming weekend. Fill out a sub application. You will get put on a team. I promise you, you will get put on a team. Tiger got put on Tiger got played for an alpha bracket team that was continuing to win the whole tournament. I believe who was that? It was Xylo, I believe. Tyler that Tiger subbed for at one point. So, hey, you never know, or you might get put on a team that absolutely bombs. But regardless, we need subs. Help out the teams playing in this tournament. Sign up for that. Today, we're going to be previewing Low Ink. We're going to be talking about teams that I think are going to move up over their performance from last month. Some teams I got some questions about that I feel are kind of questionable. Teams that are going to be in my top 10. I got a team who is going to be the team that you don't know about that could possibly win this whole tournament, i.e. the Ink Reaper team of this month. But I do have a top 10 team, and my number one team is 100% guaranteed to win this tournament. There's no way what I'm about to say is going to put unnecessary pressure on them and they will choke and not even make alpha bracket, because that never happens. Regardless, I got it right this month. Clip it, but not really. But first, we've often talked about the oversaturations of tourneys in the scene. How new tournaments are undoubtedly going to pop up now that Ludi is out of the way, and tourney registration numbers across the board are down. An interesting document released yesterday that I should post in chat, and I'll make sure to look this for YouTube. I'll be sure to post this in the link below. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, I never liked you anyway, so it doesn't matter. We're just going to go with the tweet. So if you want to help spread this tweet as well, that'd be nice to do. So this is the document we're going to be talking about. Released yesterday, titled Competitive Splatoon's Dilemma, Countering the Drought of Effective Tournaments. And the author of this document joins us now on the Popcast. So welcome in a TO from Midway, SAC, IPL, and Slayer for Thimbo International House of Pancakes. I guess I should actually join the VC. So Echo, welcome in to the Popcast.
Hello there.
Oh, I should turn you up. Did you just hit me with a? I don't think they heard that. Did you just hit me with a Obi-Wan Kenobi? Hello there. Did you really?
Maybe.
Wow. All your credibility is immediately lost. Hey, where the name Echo? Where's that IGN come from?
Right. I feel like it was definitely made before I realized there were about 20 other Echoes in the community. I mostly just made it since like I'm really into like electronic music, and it's like basically like a sound-based name, so it was just interesting to me.
The document itself, right. We obviously whenever a document releases, you don't want to be like, well, just give it TLDR. I don't have time to read it. No, we encourage everyone to go through and read it and form your own opinions on it. But just for the sake of, if there's anyone listening to this that doesn't know what we're talking about, what is the TLDR of your document? Like, what is the thesis of it for the college students?
Right. So, basically, the document was a claim that the huge volume of tournaments that we have is hurting the player base, tournament organizers, and production. So, like, players can have many reasons why they do or don't sign up for tournaments, but they can only sign up for so many. And if there are too many tournaments, then they won't be able to play in all of them. And so that means that per tournament, the amount of players will be down. That means there will be fewer close matches, so it won't be as good practice for them, as well as less hype moments in stream. There's also like a difficulty of finding commentators and streamers for currently running tournaments. So if more tournaments come in, then commentators will also have to choose which streams to commentate for, and that can make it just really difficult for every tournament to have an effective amount of an effective stream basically. A lot of the document was talking about solutions for this. Basically, most tournament organizers should take a step back and ask themselves if their work is helping the community as a whole. Aspiring organizers in production, I feel like they should also be pushed to help existing tournaments, and also reminding players that they can show support for tournaments by either playing them in them or not, since whether they plan it is the most direct way to show support for a tournament. And also just giving praise or feedback in Tourney's feedback channel, since like that can just give tournament organizers another perspective to maybe take another step forward.
This has been kind of a issue in the community for a while now, especially in the low level scene where it seems like it's whack-a-mole. There's a new tournament that pops up exclusively for Div 4 and below like every other week or something like that. Why release this document now? Like, what is there anything that specific that's happened recently that made you feel like, okay, now's the time to start a conversation about this?
Right. I feel like the conversation about this, it didn't start yet, so I feel like just getting it out there as soon as possible was helpful. It was mostly from a production point of view. Like I noticed the Sindo feed showed a lot of the tournaments that were popping up, as you said. And I help on Midway, and recently we've had like very few staff able to actually help with the tournament, and we also had to forgo having commentators for a Swiss stage. And on that same day, Low Ink was having trouble getting commentators as well. I've played in and commentated tourneys with only 5 participants as well, and the commentating for Aquatic Cup, which only had it was a round robin of 5 teams. The top seeded team was streamed about 4 different times, just completely destroying any other team, which was fairly difficult to commentate. So I feel like getting this document out now, especially with Ludi ending, many tournaments will see a spike in their tourney output, so they might feel inspired to add another tournament to their organization or create another one. But there's already a current abundance of tournaments, so I feel like making a tournament series is a long-term addition to this oversaturation. And so it's difficult to dismantle the longer you wait to talk about it, because all these weeklies that might be created in the coming months, they would have to then realize that they're not actually, well, the amount of signups that they're getting isn't worth running that tournament. So I feel like just getting this out as soon as possible allows tournament organizers to try to put more thought into their tournaments, to either like make a new one or bolster the current tournament series that we have going.
Are you surprised with how much attention this document has gotten in about 18 hours or so? The amount of people that have chimed in, the amount of retweets it's got, the amount of people have come out and said, I agree with this, or here's some things I disagree with it. Did you expect it to get this much attention?
Honestly, I didn't expect it to get this big. I'm glad though, because like it gets this information out there, it starts the discussion. I don't think that it's that surprising that it got some traction, at least though, since the idea of tournaments oversaturation has been a running discussion. Like still, it hasn't been to this size, but it's been here on the podcast a couple of times. K-Bot's been here talking about it. It comes up in like a way when majors get few signups or when majors are scheduled over another tournaments. So I feel like what I did wasn't necessarily starting a new never before heard argument. It basically just put it into a neatly wrapped box that could be liked and retweeted. I feel like though more than virality, I'm hoping that people take action with this. Like if they want to help out this community, that they seek ways to do it. There isn't really a short-term solution to this, so I feel like just continuing the discussion is more important than just this catalyst, if that makes sense.
Um, since it has been getting a lot of attention, have you received any feedback so far?
Uh, um, I feel like it's been relatively positive for the most part. Mostly it was just that I wasn't able to cover everything with like what was in the document. I wanted to be concise so that as many people read it as possible. I still had to hit about 8 pages though. There was a lack of mentioning that tournaments sometimes run over each other, which is the most well, it's the most drastic way that you can hurt signups by scheduling your tournament over something like Ludi. So like communication between tournament organizers, I feel like should have been something that was more important to talk about. Someone actually told me that they compared tournaments to like launching a product. It could be perfect in any way, in every way, like a great stream, commentators, bracket form, but without signups, there isn't a tournament. So I feel like might not have put enough blame on the players or like what the situation could be to like not have them signing up for tournaments. A major thing is COVID ending because people are getting like off online. It means they just have less time to play it in tournaments. Uh, I'm also a bit biased since I play and interact with mostly mid to lower level players, so I usually play for either practice or enjoyment of the game. Not everyone does this, though. I don't know how all higher level players do, but some mainly play for recognition, some play for the prize pool. Um, Especially like the recognition part of it. I know that some players haven't played in like midway because it doesn't get as much attention as something like SAC. I know that Luau, when they won Low Inc, they got a lot more recognition than they did when they won a recent SOS, where they got arguably much better results, like that 3-1 against Pure Divinity. So it might just be that players play in tournaments just to get notable results instead of necessarily, well, to be the talk of the town instead of actually to practice that, if that makes sense. So I feel like overall it was just that I didn't really consider every perspective going into it.
You know, with Luau, that's it's an interesting point you bring up with Luau. They get more recognition when they win Low Inc because Low Inc is it's the biggest tournament in the scene right now, and it's hilarious because half of the community is literally banned from it, but it's still it gets 300 people watching it live, 100 plus teams almost every single month. So yeah, it winning Low Inc gives you it gets you more attention. Now Luau got into +3 because they won SOS. Like that's like they should have been in there to begin with, but that pushed them over the edge to where +3 had to like start voting those guys in where they needed to be. But yeah, I do. I feel like that's why people don't want to be banned from Low Inc. is because they know winning Low Inc. gives you that more clout than anything else that you might accomplish in your career as a competitive player. That's a fair thing to say. One of the things you kind of brought up was the lack of communications between tournament organizations and other TOs. One of the more famous examples was when Minnow Cup announced they were going to do a tournament. They had already started registration. They already had their staff meetings. They already had the link up. And then Triple G just came in and said, hey, we're doing our tournament the same exact day and time. And Minnow Cup was like, nobody said anything to us at all. Like, we found out that they were running a tournament the same day and time as us when it just got announced on Twitter. You're involved in tons of different organizations. Could you like give us a peek behind the curtain? Is there like some kind of level of communication between some organizations? Is there like a server where a bunch of TOs are in and just kind of like pick dates and things like that?
There is like some communication between organizers, but I feel like there isn't enough of it. I feel that especially if you're planning on running a major or like a huge tournament that will definitely get a lot of traction, like Ludi was a big example. Soon TM doesn't tell you what the date is going to be, and Personally, I was really distraught when Ludi announced the speed ladder was on the same day as Midway and Minnow Cup,
That's
because
true.
um yeah, I feel like it's mostly just as the bigger your tournament is, the more important it is to announce the dates early. You can't wait until just 2 weeks before the major to say, hey, there's a major in 2 weeks. Because not only will that mean that you're not going to get as many players since they're not going to be planning months in advance, you won't be getting as many people watching the stream either for a similar reason, but you might also be hurting other tournaments by just scheduling on top of them because they just didn't know that a larger tournament like that would be happening. So I feel like there definitely needs to be more communication, both TO to TO, so we don't schedule on top of each other, but also TO to player, because if the player doesn't know about a tournament, then they won't be able to sign up for it. So just getting that marketing out there, getting the hype running as soon as possible, it helps a lot.
I think some of the issues with the majors is I think everyone in the community wants majors. I think TOs from other organizations want majors to come in. We see the value in them. I I think just me personally, it comes across when they just say we're doing it on this day, we don't care what else is going on. It seems more disrespectful to the other organizations that are doing things monthly or weekly that are like keeping the tournament, keeping the scene alive in between each major or minor or whatever. Um, and that's just been my take on it. Like we need majors. It's just it it comes across when they just announce their tournament that it's, well, we're the big dog in town. We can just do whatever we want without even mentioning it to other TOs. Yeah, I forgot about the speed ladder thing. One thing I do want to point out, you mentioned a lot of tournaments happening at the same time. Um, take Friday for an example. At 1 p.m. Eastern time on Friday, Squids Out of the Water is happening, and IPL's King of the Castle is happening. Two tournaments literally at the same time. And I think they filled the same kind of void or like they just have like the same target market of teams that they go after. Saturday, the day after that, forget about Low Ink. Saturday night, Squid Junction 8 is happening at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. An hour later, Aquatic Cup is happening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And those are two open invite tournaments that are literally the same tournament happening at the same day at the same time. So you talking about that being could be an issue down the road. It's literally happens tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Somebody's saying Squid Junction just got canceled for that reason in chat. Okay, well that I didn't see that as as of last night, but okay, that I'm glad that situation's already got resolved. But yeah, you mentioned that could be an issue. It's already an issue right now.
Right. And I feel like it goes back to the idea of just like partly no just like TOs being able to communicate with each other about just where their tournaments are going to hit, since if it's a larger tournament, yes, you are going to get more players, and usually players will also choose you over like smaller weeklies or monthlies. But at the same time, it also hurts the TOs actually running that, because they either have to just cut their losses or reschedule, and that's a tough decision to make. I feel like, yeah, just a lot of the document was basically like this type of tournaments running over top of one another. It's already hurting the community, and it's probably going to get worse if like nothing is done about it.
Let's talk about the convo itself, or the document itself. Let's have a convo about the document, the content within it. One of the things you talked about was how teams will often skip tourneys to do scrims, since tourneys are only marginal better forms of practice than a league session. I don't think that's the case for my team specifically, but obviously I don't speak for teams that are at a higher level than Destiny troops. But why do you think teams would rather practice with a scrim than play in a tournament if the point of doing scrims is so that you can perform in tournaments.
Right. I feel like also one thing that I didn't quite mention in the document is tournaments have a different vibe than scrims, where playing in tournaments is the only real way to like feel that your matches actually matter. But I feel that tournaments they can demonstrate if you've gotten better as a team, but they don't necessarily help a team get better. Usually a 4-hour tournament means about 3 hours or so of either waiting for brackets to finish or playing uneven games against players who are multiple divs above or below you. Only about like an hour or so of that 4-hour tournament will be playing against teams who are like in a similar level as you. By contrast, a 1-hour scrim would give about the same number of quality games that you would get in a tournament, but in less overall time. Sometimes it's also just a matter of signups. Like pickup scrims can be done at any point, while tournaments you have to get the signups. You have to be able to dedicate yourself to multiple hours in the game. Um I feel like also specifically with higher level, like if you're wanting to get into plus servers or go from +3 to +2, it's more efficient to get upvotes if you play with or against people that are actually in like the plus servers instead of indirectly showing them that you're good through tourney results. Like if you play in a swimmer sync and beat pure divinity, then that means directly you can beat pure divinity. Indirectly, you could beat players in +3. But if you do a +3 scrim, that directly shows the people playing in it that you're at their level, and so they're more likely to give you that recognition. So I feel like tourneys can be good practice for teams, but especially if there's only like one or two Div 4 teams playing in it. As a Div 4 team, some group of players might not want to play in the tournament because they just get more out of it from being in a Div 4 scrim instead of playing against Div 6 or Div 2 level players, if that makes sense.
Uh, when it let's kind of shift gears to when it comes to majors. It seems like when we have a major, they go out of their way to try to please as many people as they can. Having multiple brackets for different skill levels, universal start time that works for North America, Europe, and Japan. So it seems like they're kind of going for a quantity over quality kind of approach. Can we have major tourneys or tourneys with massive prize pools that only cater to like the top level of Splatoon since they're the ones that are going to win it anyways? Or does it have to be something where we have to get as many teams to sign up as possible?
I feel like the idea about having like a large prize pool for just like the top 8 or 16 highest NA or regional teams, I feel like that could work. Um like I feel like that's less of a tournament though and more of an invitational. And in my opinion, a major is a major when there is a large amount of people enjoying the game of Splatoon in some form or fashion. That could be from streaming it, from watching a stream, from playing it, or some other method. I know that Smash does the invitational type of like top player thing and it works for them. But I feel like if we have an invitational like that, then we need to focus less on the number of players, but instead the number of viewers on the stream. Since if there are only like 10 viewers on the stream of the top 16 players in a region or world playing Splatoon, then it doesn't really matter that that's happening because no one's actually watching it. It's not actually creating like that sort of boost that the community wants. So I feel like it still needs to have similar marketing as a major. It needs to be mentioned far before the time the tourney happens. It needs to get really hyped up on social media, probably more than like an open invite major would be, because most people can't actually play in it. Um, the main drawback with that is it's not always practical to have huge prize pools for majors since that's just not always feasible by organizers since they often have to put that in themselves along with the volunteer work that they're doing. Um so if the like open invite route is taken, I feel like having open invite majors is just as important as having like the invitational thing that I discussed earlier. But if well for the open invite tournaments, it needs to be clear how exactly lower level teams will be I guess served, or like how they'll get efficient practice from the tournament, because they don't want to be knocked out in round 2 of double elimination. So the format has to be clear to them, or else it won't really be played. We saw this in Cloudburst, where there was only one Div 6 team and one Div 5 team who played in the entire tournament, and eventually it did have to switch to like a double elimination format. Either way you go, though, the stream is a huge part of it. You have to have good production value, and preferably good graphics as well. Just making sure that the experience is as easy to watch as possible.
You mentioned Cloudburst, and I don't know if Cloudburst was I don't think it was officially a major, quote unquote, however you define it as. But yeah, the conversation with Cloudburst was the lack of teams that signed up, but still, you would have to say Cloudburst was a successful tournament. Um, like I said, you mentioned you don't have to play in it; you can watch it and support it that way. And a lot of people watch Cloudburst. I think when I talked about it, I said not just the actual stream Cloudburst, but everybody that was watching all of the like when Kiver and Sindao and all those guys were streaming it. That's adding views to the tournament as well. So when I guess the reason I asked the question is it's every time we have a major. Well, where is low level? Why are they not signing up? And my point is, why do you care if they sign up or not? Like Cloudburst, in my mind, was a success. Like, would you agree with that? Even though it only had like 30 teams sign up in general.
I mean, I feel like being a success with a stream and being a success with a tournament are two different things. Specifically, if the goal of the tournament was to be efficient practice for all levels of play, I don't think that was achieved for the Div 6 and Div 5 level teams that signed up for Cloudburst, since there was only one of each. They were playing against they were forced to play against players who were much higher level than themselves. Um but having I feel like successful stream, as you said, I agree that like a tournament doesn't necessarily need to have a huge number of signups in order to be successful with the stream. It's just based on which goals the tournament has in mind, whether they want to focus more on the stream or having players actually participate in the tournament itself.
We are talking, if you just joined us, we are talking with Echo, who released a really nice document about the oversaturation of tournaments in the competitive Splatoon. One of the things you talked about was the lack of production staff, since we're kind of talking about streams, for tournaments to have streams, i.e., streamers, graphic designers, and commentators. How do we address this lack of production staff? Because it's not just Midway that is suffering from having to cancel their streams. I know Midpoint had to cancel one of their streams at one point. And several other tournament organizations that are just like, hey, do you have a mic? Come on here, just talk, please. Like how do we address this lack of production staff?
Right. I want to start this out by saying that anyone who's feeling motivated to help the community, I would very much recommend you take a look into like production, like commentating, streaming. TOing is only half the battle with that. Having a good stream is honestly just as important in my opinion. A tourney can technically run without a stream, but good streams tend to bring in more players for it. If you want to start commentating, that will be encouraged. I feel like addressing the lack of production staff, there's definitely more of a lack of streamers, like people who can use OBS to actually broadcast this the overhead view as well as the commentators to Twitch. So if you have the capabilities to do that, I would encourage you to like participate in that, try to figure out what to do for that. I think one of the larger issues with this is like I feel like there might be people who are interested in getting into commentary or streaming or even graphic design. The problem is partly just that there aren't enough resources for them to be able to do that. Like you see a couple of pillars or like really good commentators like Matt and Rissa who commentated Squid House. Milana and Barry is a really good combination of SAC as well. But um in general, there aren't that many resources for like newer commentators to try and learn more about like just how to commentate effectively, since commentating and streaming are also skills that can be worked on. Something that that commentators can do themselves is like asking others for advice, VOD reviewing, using streams from like maybe muting the low-ink stream and trying to commentate it yourself, or using PBs from friends or other uh play Splatoon players for practice. Like I know Midpoint has some people spec or stream best of 7 drafts. um Trying out new styles or with new people can also help a lot if you are just trying to work on your own commentary skill. But I feel like something that would be really helpful is creating more resources for production staff, like already experienced production staff, to be able to teach or like have boot camp um newer additions to commentary or streaming, because those are skills that need to be that can be improved upon. But I feel like it can partially be a lack of confidence in those skills that can prevent someone from commentating a certain tournament, not just whether or not we have enough commentators. And I feel like having more resources available would it would definitely improve the quality of streams that we have right now. Since also tournament it would be nice to have people like Rissa or really good commentators that commentate every single tournament, but that isn't feasible just because, well, there are too many tournaments, but also commentators can get burnout just as easily as players. And so it's good to have other people to fall back on in case they're needed. So basically, I feel like it will be helpful to have more resources for commentators, streamers, even graphic designers to just learn the ropes of what makes a good commentator, streamer, what makes a good graphic, etc.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like we don't do a good job of improving the talent that we already have in this community. And you're talking about there's so many different tournaments, so it's hard for them to find it's hard to find quality commentators for everything instead of just the few tournaments that we probably should be having. But yeah, we a lot of people in chat are saying I'm interested. I'm interested in doing something with production staff. I just don't know where to get started. So maybe we need to do a better job of just, hey, this is the intro to getting involved in something like this. Obviously, I'll just say right now, all organizations, does Midway have like applications and stuff in SAC like that are out?
Midway had applications at one point. I feel like, honestly, if you are interested in commentating or being TO to help out a certain tournament, DM them direct. DM either like a staff member asking to, well, showing your interest, or even like the tournament Twitter. I feel like someone has to check that eventually. So I feel like being able to just contact them directly. It's hard to promote saying that you need streamers or commentators. Just because like Twitter algorithms don't always get that information out to the people who would be interested. But I can assure you that Midway does need more commentators or streamers. So if you're interested, at Midway Inc. Tour, just message or something. Uh, Honestly, I think, yeah, just like trying to directly message people who are like over either the production side of a tournament or just tournament staff. Usually they have a specific role in their tournaments. So like if you see a stream that you want to participate in, or like you want to maybe try to help commentate, DM the staff members. They'll try to work something out. I know that they're probably more often than not they will be receptive to having another commentator or streamer on board, or even graphic designer, because there's just a huge need for it right now, as I've said before.
One more. This has been a really good conversation, but I can't do it all day long. So last kind of question. Um, does it make more sense to have tournament organizations versus just like single standalone tournaments like IPL, SAC, and Midway are all organizations that have multiple tournaments and Deep Sea Solutions, and I know I'm not going to list every single organization, but does it make more sense to have more organizations versus just like standalone individual tournaments?
Um, I want to preface this by saying I'm probably biased since I only help with IPL, SAC, Midway, like organizations. I want to say that organizations can definitely promote their other tournaments better. Like take IPL for example. If someone enters testing grounds, enters the IPL server just for testing grounds, then they're going to see the announcements for Swimmer Sync or King of the Castle, and they'll be inspired to maybe also play those as well. So I feel like that helps just indirectly promote other tournaments within that organization. And I feel like SOS wouldn't get as many participants if it wasn't like a weekly of IPL being indirectly promoted by all the other tournaments that IPL provides. SAC, when it first was created, it like took control of a lot of other tourneys and promoted playing in other ones, like other ones still under the SAC bracket. Um, and that basically allowed each individual tournament to get more participants. So I feel like organizations have more quote unquote clout that they can promote tournaments to than like Aquatic Cup does, where if someone plays an Aquatic Cup, then they're not really getting unless they watch the stream and that stream has some sort of like announcement for another tournament, then there isn't really a way to promote another tournament directly like that. Um, One of the main drawbacks of an organization, though, is it takes a lot of planning to be done right. Without that, a lot of things can go wrong. And if something goes wrong in an organization, it hurts a lot of tournaments since they're all under that same umbrella. I know that it took months for IPL to be developed with just like a couple of tournaments under their belt at that point. So I feel like it's definitely a huge commitment if an organization is created, because if something goes wrong, then it affects the entire organization at that point. One of the main boons of an organization, though, is it can distribute work better. IPL uses a lot of bots that Vincent was able to make that help a lot with like organizing Battlefy information, seeding, etc. Individual tournaments don't often have time or staffing for things like as specific as that, but I feel like it helps a lot with being able to just improve the quality of the tournament for all sides, including the TOs. I know that some people have claimed that certain organizations can monopolize tournaments or tourney spots. So I feel like it's good to have alternatives if there are controversies with tournaments for both online and LANs. So I feel like having a combination of organizations and standalone will be helpful, because individual tournaments aren't really flawed, because if they're run well, they can still be a really effective tournament. It's just that organizations promote multiple within one umbrella. So I feel like it just depends, really.
Yeah, a good example of a tournament series that's just like a standalone, we just do one thing, would be Little Squid League, which I think might be the best example of a standalone tournament that does things really well. And you talk about IPL becoming a major organization. There is one thing I want to point out. If Low Inc doesn't exist, there is no IPL. Like IPL exists because Low Inc became the monster that it is. So if you guys like SOS and Testing Ground and all that stuff, thank Low Level. That's the reason that thing even came into existence. Last question. I didn't send you this, but I just thought of it off the top of my head. More of a personal one. If I told you, if I was the devil, and I gave you this option, you could win Low Inc, but you have to give up your TOing role at SAC and Midway. Would you take that?
I didn't know that the devil could be bold, but anyways, I feel like The idea of winning low wink gives clout, but honestly, I feel like the the ability to be a TO in just so many different organizations has given me like a different perspective on like what different TOs see the community as, what TOs see the community as versus what players do. So I feel like just the experience of being a TO has been really rewarding for me. So honestly, I feel like I would still take being able to TO midway SAC over low wing winning.
A very noble answer for yourself. Hey, thank you for coming in. And it kind of expanding more on your document that you released yesterday. It was a good conversation, and hopefully this isn't just something that just gets talked about and then we forget about it the next day and we're moving on. Like, hopefully this has a positive impact on the community. So thank you for giving that information and coming on and talking.
Right, most definitely, and no problem. I think I also want to just kind of catapult with that and say that almost every single TO, whether or not they're like one of whether or not they're like quote unquote part of the problem, even though I wouldn't say it that way. I feel like being a TO shows that someone cares about this community and wants to help it succeed better. It it's another way of interacting with the community, and I feel like if you want to take the plunge for it, it's definitely worth it. There aren't that many resources for it, but most TOs are really open and would definitely help you out if you reached out. So don't feel afraid to.
I agree with that statement as a fellow TO. Just don't reach out to me with annoying stuff. I'll mute you forever.
Hey, is I hot banned from the link, by the way?
And with that, we are going to awkwardly leave and not answer your question at all. That was Echo of Slayer for IHOP, but also a TO for TO for Midway SAC and some IPL as well. That was a really good conversation. I'm glad we were Echo was able to come on at this time and chat with that. This was that was really good. Again, I encourage you to read through the document, keep the conversation going yourself. A lot of TOs, a lot of big name TOs have already kind of retweeted their thoughts about it there. So yeah, that's a good conversation to have and a great way to start off an episode of the Popcast. And now talked about low wink a lot in that chat as well. So that'll lead us into this preview for this low wink. You missed part of the podcast. Well, if only there was some way to go back and watch all the stuff you missed. But not yet. Stick around. I need the live views. Go back and watch the VOD on YouTube later. This is the first time I've done an interview first at the beginning of an episode, but it just kind of worked out with the timing for that. So let's see how I transition from doing that to a completely different topic. Anyways, there's a tournament this upcoming weekend. Low Ink is happening, and let's preview it. We're going to start off talking about some new teams, some teams I think I'm going to be moving up, and then my top 10 teams that I think are going to win this tournament. First off, some new teams that I want to point out here that are making their first appearance, I think, in Low Ink. Got to give a shout out to Incognito, the team that has risen from the ashes of No Diving or Sugar Stars or the Sugar Bears, as I think their team name should have been. What are the expectations for Incognito? I don't know. They seem to be pretty mysterious with a name like that. But Sugar No Diving was kind of like threatening to make some gamer brackets then. They were taking some games off of some notable teams. I remember they took a game off of Day Old Sushi once, but for Incognito, sometimes when a team rebrands, but a new team forms with some members mainly from another team, they usually do a little bit better. So let's see if Incognito can't make a Sunday bracket here. Heaven's Moonlight be playing in their first low ink. And this is a team that isn't playing in their first tournament ever. You know, sometimes you're playing in a tournament and you come across a team name or a team that is brand new to competitive, and you're like, wow, these guys should really play in low ink. Not because you think like, oh, these guys suck, they should be playing in low ink. But like, this shouldn't. It's good that they have an interest in competitive, but this is a team that should be in low ink and growing through that. Heaven's Moonlight, we saw them play against ITAP in a testing ground tournament, and it did decently well with ITAP, but it gave you a sense of like, I want to see Heaven's Moonlight play against like 60% Fish Puns or Tooniverse or Inkvaders or something like that. I don't want to see them play against Sonder or these other teams. So Heaven's Moonlight making their first appearance here. I feel like no Bull Squid has played in a low ink before, like in the past, but you probably have seen this team a lot in League. They're the team that's got like that slanted hashtag, like one diagonal and two across tag. You've probably seen these guys before, but they don't play in a lot of tournaments, at least from what I see. So it's good to see them playing in low ink here. I don't know where to put them, if there are like a gamma or beta potential kind of team, but hopefully they can play out through this tournament. It'll be fun to see what they do. Teams that didn't make gamma last month that I feel like are going to move up. Now, I'm not saying teams that make gamma that are going to move to beta. I don't want to like put a ceiling on how far a team can improve in this tournament. So I'm just saying teams that didn't make gamma last time that are going to have a bump up as far as what they do in this upcoming month. I got two teams for you. First off, the Ink Bashers. I was surprised these guys didn't make gamma last month. I feel like they're a gamma/beta level team for sure. And that they've been talking about, they were on the pre-show for Low Ink last month, and they said they felt confident about going into that one. They wanted to make some noise and get some recognition. And they didn't make gamma bracket, but what they have done recently is finish in third place in Div 7 of America in the Ludi group. So you got to think a third place Div 7 team should be making gamma bracket. So I think just having an extra month of getting some synergy with each other and growing as a team, I think we're going to see Ink Bashers qualify for Sunday here. Another team, I was surprised these guys didn't make a bracket last month. And I wonder if I just misread something, but Vaporwave finished in 25th in their group last month. You're allowed to have bad months. But Vaporwave has proven that they are way better than teams that don't traditionally make the Sunday brackets of Low Ink. They finished in third place in Div 6 America, beating Rising Hope and Booyah X in the playoffs. So whatever Vaporwave issues they had last month, I think they're going to be gone now. Vaporwave, this is why I don't want to put a cap on a team, because I don't think Vaporwave is just the team that should be aiming for Gamma. I feel like they're a team that should be aiming for Beta and beyond with what they've shown in Ludi. Some Gamma teams that I think we're all kind of expecting to move up here. First off, the Fighting Sir Skits themselves, the Wiggly Phantoms. These guys kind of teeter-totter between Gamma and Beta, and they did really well in Gamma last month. They got third place. They went all the way to winners finals before losing to Tooniverse and then Yosemite, who ended up winning the whole bracket there. But Wiggly Phantoms were really close to making Beta last month. They were the number one seed in Gamma, which means that their opponent win percentage just barely kept them out of Beta, but showed up and showed out in Gamma. So I feel like Wiggly Phantoms can make that jump back up. Just need to get that fourth win just to kind of solidify their spot up there. Mission Instinct, I feel like isn't a traditional Gamma bracket team, but they ended up there last month. But they made top cut in the Minnow Cup. They made Beta bracket before. I feel like Mission Instinct should be able to make a bounce back here and move beyond Gamma bracket. And lastly, a team I'm kind of interested in here and I feel like is rapidly improving, Power Inc. Div 7 America runners up, 5-0'd on Crack in the semifinals of that Ludi bracket there. Power Inc. I feel like is a team. They made Gamma last month. I feel like I don't know. I just feel like the experience they've gained over Ludi is going to bump them up. I know they're a little Squid League team. I don't know if they're. I feel like they're going to be a favorite to win the next Little Squid League if they are allowed to play in that. I don't know what the skill cap adjustment has been since the new Ludi has come out, if there even is one. But Power Inc. I feel like is going to be a strong team here. Beta teams that are going to be moving up. And I only got one because I'm going to talk about the rest of these beta teams in other later on in the podcast, maybe in the top 10. And I'm just going to go with the Inkstrike Inklings here. I feel like the Inkstrike Inklings are one of these teams now that Div 4 is completely gone. It's going to open up the door for these more traditional teams to just kind of come in and we're going to make alpha every single time we sign up for low ink until we win it or get banned outright. And Inkstrike Inklings, I feel like, is going to be one of those teams. If not this month, next month, they will establish themselves as a blue blood alpha bracket team. Because that's what the Inkstrike Inklings are. They are that level caliber of team. They'll probably slip up and make beta bracket every now and then as well, like they did last month. But I expect them to move up and be a traditional alpha bracket team starting this month or next month. Now, the team. This is the new category, the Ink Reaper team, i.e. the team that is played before. We should know who they are, but they're going to come in and dominate the entire tournament, and everyone's just going to be like, Popcast didn't have these guys in the top 10, so they must be cheating somehow. No. This team may be really good, or they may be god-awful. We don't know, because they won Div 8. i.e. the Div question mark. We don't really know how good these guys actually are, and that is Lumistars. Why do we not know? Well, they ripped Div 8 America in half. They won the Div, going 35-1 per game. They only dropped one game the entire Ludi season. That's pretty dominant. They have played in low ink before, but I think they've always dropped or didn't complete a Saturday or whatever. So I don't think we've seen them play all the way through a low ink just yet. Or if they did, it was longer ago, back before Ludi even started. So keep an eye out for Lumistars. I have no idea how good they're going to do, and that's always scary. They're one of those teams that could end up like just destroying this low ink or not. We don't know. But regardless, don't be complaining if they do really good, because I called it out here. I called it now. So don't you be coming at me if they do really good. Before we get into the top 10 and the honorable mentions, we're going to talk about some teams that I'm questionable about. They're not quite in the top 10, and I don't know if I can put them in an honorable mention slot just yet, but still some questions about them. First off, of course, ITAP is going to be in this group. I saw some other people had ITAP in their top 10. I am not crazy confident about that just yet. The questions I have about ITAP is, I know they've been grinding for this low ink specifically. I saw Mizuno tweeting out that they've been doing like 3 or 4 scrims this week or last week or whatever. They're getting ready for this low ink, which is exciting because they don't have to deal with finals. They don't have to deal with classes. Unless they're taking some sort of summer classes. If they've gone back to their homes or apartments or whatever, they don't have to deal with crappy dorm internet issues either. So there are a lot of good things trending forward for ITAP here. It's just because they made Gamma last month, and there's probably some issues that played into that kind of held them back. I want to see them make alpha bracket like they used to back during the tail end of the fall semester last year, before I feel confident putting them personally in my top 10. Are they a top 10 caliber team? Yes, there's just been outside issues that's just been kind of slowing them down. Yosemite. This is the team that won Gamma Bracket, and I called them Yosemite or Yosemite. It's Yosemite. There's actually a national park named after that. Duh. But these guys won Gamma Bracket, and I feel like they're better than Gamma bracket potential. I mean, they had to go through the losers bracket to win Gamma last month, but I feel like these guys were at times really, really dominant when they beat Tooniverse 8-0, but at times really weren't, which is why they ended up in Gamma bracket to begin with. So that screams inconsistency, which is a sign of a team that is new and is not used to playing in more tournaments. So now that Yosemite has another month under their belt to get better, are we going to see a more consistent, dominant team that can threaten to make alpha bracket and do decently well in alpha bracket? Or are they going to be more, just move up to beta? I don't really know. We need a more sample size of Yosemite before we know how good they actually are. Ink Eye really impressed last month, making beta bracket with a 4-2 result. Opponent win percentage not quite high enough to bump them up to alpha. The question is, whenever a team finally turns that corner and gets that fourth win and goes to 4-2 or 5-1 and whatever, the question is, can they hold on to that spot? Because now other teams are trying to take that spot from them. Are they going to keep being a beta bracket level kind of team, or are they going to fall to like 3-3 and go back down to Gamma, something like that? So for Ink Eye, this is a kind of a month to prove that last month was not a fluke. It is now the standard for them going forward. Booyah X in kind of a similar boat as well. They didn't play last month, but when they played in April, they did go 4-2, and it was enough to get them in alpha bracket as well. Same kind of question, and they did good in Ludi. I believe they got 4th place in their group in Div 6 America. Don't quote me on that. But the question once again is, was April a fluke, or is that now the standard for Booyah X? I hope they assume that it's going to be the standard, but I would hope their expectation is to go 4-2 again and then try to improve off of that. Just because going 4-2 sometimes opponent win percentage just screws you over and you get stuck down in beta. But for Ink Eye and Booyah X, that's kind of that's the question is, are you legit or not? Lastly, Yoru? Yori? I thought it was just Yuri, and then I'd look back and it was Yoru. Regardless, this is Rainbow Blossom, who decided to rebrand to something I can't pronounce because I was born in Kentucky. Made beta bracket last month, and will this reband bump them up to be a contender? I remember verifying them last month and be like, this team might be scary good. Like, this might be one of those teams that does really well in alpha bracket, and everyone's like, oh, the heck are these guys? Well, now, if you see Yoru, like knights, I don't know what Yoru means, but that's how it's spelled. Splab B tune. We'll see how good they actually do in this tournament. They made beta last time. Before we get into the top 10, we got to do the honorable mentions. The teams that are going to be a little butthurt that I don't think highly enough of them to put them in the top 10, and then they're going to play with a chip on their shoulder and then DM me when they do better than 10th place in this tournament. I got 5 teams in my honorable mention this month. First off, Mahi Monsoon. These guys dropped last month. I had them in my top 10 last month, but they had to drop last month because of connection issues. And they've had some fishy results since then. It seems like they haven't had results that would meet their own standards of what we kind of expect for Mahi. But if they can make it all the way through this low ink without any issues or hiccups or anything like that, this will be a statement month for low ink, or for Mahi in this low ink. Rising Hope, they did really well last month. I had them in my top 10 because I feel like they deserve to be there. They made beta brackets. I believe they went 4-2, just barely missed out making beta bracket. But not. I'm not putting them back in my top 10 this time, but they definitely deserve an honorable mention. 2 teams kind of in the same spot here, OK Woomer and Anarchy. Both these teams made alpha bracket last month for the first time, and I can't put them in the top 10 because they had really rough Sundays. It'd be good to see these 2 teams return to alpha bracket and then start getting some dubs. But when teams kind of make alpha bracket but they don't do crazy well, it kind of makes you the sense of like, I would like to see them in beta bracket and see how they play against teams like Dark Reign or Rising Hope that didn't make alpha bracket but still popped off in beta bracket a little bit. Last and certainly not least, if you want the official number 11 team in my top 10, I'll give it to Outcast Ninjas. I want to see them make alpha bracket again. They've been a traditional. They made Gamma several times, and they've been really strong when they make Gamma bracket. They usually make it all the way to the grand finals, but this is the first time they've made alpha bracket, and I think they did decent in alpha. Well, maybe not. I shouldn't say things off the top of my head that I haven't looked up recently, but Outcast Ninjas, give them the official number 11 spot here. I feel like that's fair. And now, move the arrow on down to the part where I just read off a sheet of paper and realize, oh wow, my handwriting is getting worse by the day. Top 10 teams that are going to win this upcoming low ink, guaranteed. Number 10. Shiver Me Inklings, come on down. You are the next contestant on Getting Cursed by Pop Gun. You know, I don't know what finally caused the Pirates to turn the corner here from being a middle-of-the-pack Gamma bracket team to a contender to win Beta and push for Alpha. But these guys have the experience in low ink that a lot of these other teams just don't. They finished third in Beta last month, beating teams like Tooniverse, Sekinaga, Rising Hope, Rainbow Blossom, who's now Yoru, and Unlimited Woomy United, aka Uwu. They also got another kind of chip on their shoulder that I like. I like when teams play with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. This was one of the teams that finished 4-1 in their Ludi group, and due to tiebreakers, failed to make playoffs. I think they're a little pissed off about that, and rightfully so. Winning 4 games in your Ludi group and not making playoffs is something, you know, I always say only losers complain about tiebreakers, but that doesn't mean you're not allowed to be a little angry about it. And I love it when teams play angry, because when they're angry and they feel like they got something to prove, then they don't play nervous. They don't play with this hunter versus hunted mentality. They're playing, you want to hunt me, come and get me, because we're ready to prove that we're better than you. I feel really good about the Shiver Me Inklings. Do I think they're a team that is going to flat out win this tournament? No. But do I feel like they are one of the top 10 teams in this tournament? I do. I honestly do. Number 9. I still believe in the power of Sekinaga. Yes, they barely missed alpha bracket, finishing 10th in their group. Yes, they didn't do super well in beta, losing to Shiver Me Inklings and Buffed Bees. And yes, they did get a bad draw in their Ludi Div 5 playoffs, where they had to face Dreamscape in round 1, the team who ended up winning the whole div, as far as the American side is concerned. I know I sound like a Sekinaga apologist here, but as I look at the teams that have signed up so far, I still feel like these guys are still a top 10 team in this lowing. Whatever excuse I need to use to justify them staying in this top 10 this month, I will find. A close 5-4 loss to Citrus and Ludi last month being their first low ink. Whatever excuse you want me to go with, I'll go with it. Just don't be surprised if these guys get their 5th win and make alpha bracket this month and do some damage on Sunday. Do some damage on Sunday as well. Number 8. Insurance Agency is the most improved team of 2021 so far. That is a fact. They are one of those teams that have yet to take a step backwards, only climbing up the mountain. In February, they went 2-4. March, 3-3 without making Gamma bracket. April, 3rd place in Beta. In May, 2nd round of Alpha losers. Combine that with their very close 2nd place finish in Div 6 America to wipe out Punks, and you have a team that is capable of winning this low ink. They are very much capable of winning this low ink. The problem is when you get to this point in the mountain, it's kind of a bit of a bottleneck. where only one team can kind of slip through and be the team that wins it. And the climb becomes a lot less steep and straight up and more of a plateau. So how does the insurance agency going to deal with the fact that now they have to play other alpha bracket teams consistently if they want to improve, instead of just beating up on the beta and gamma team that they're showing that they're clearly better than? Can they beat teams that are div'd above them? Of course. Can they beat at least 5 of them on Sunday? That is yet to be seen. Number 7. Beta bracket champions usually make my top 10 somewhere. I feel confident about putting Dark Reign at number 7 here. A classic example of when you fail to survive Saturday but tear up beta bracket anyways, as a way to remind everyone that you are still the monster we see you as. Finishing 9th place in your Swiss group is rough, but they shouldn't be penalized from anyone's top 10 list for that, because several teams made this list that didn't make alpha bracket last month and didn't accomplish anything. That did make alpha last month and didn't accomplish anything. They shouldn't survive. They didn't survive that rough Div 5 group, losing the access denied and deep fried octolings. Both a close 5-3 result. But I think they will bounce back this month and return to alpha bracket where they ended up back in April. Number 6. I'll be honest, I initially didn't have access denied this high on my list. Normally, I do a rough draft of my 10 teams, and I just put them in any kind of order that in my head looks like it's right. And then I start filling out what I say about them and do some more research on recent tourney results. And as I started doing that, I was thinking like, well, access denied has better results than those guys. They need to be above them. Or, oh, access denied shouldn't be below these guys. I feel like they would blow them out if they were to play. Access denied has kind of snuck up on me. Yes, they did just lose to the deep fried octolings in the bronze medal match of a Div 5 America 5-1. But that doesn't take away from the fact that they swept their group 5-0 and included teams like the deep fried octolings and Dark Reign. Throw in the fact that they made alpha last month, having the highest opponent win percentage in their group at 66.6%, and another month of experience for this team that originally disbanded but came back to play in Ludi, and you got a recipe for success in the low ink full of teams that they can't handle. Number 5. When am I going to say citrus? Ink Luminatis are making their first appearance in low ink ever. And this is a team that I feel like is either going to burn me here, or they're just going to flat out rip this tournament apart. Or turn out to be a middle of the pack alpha bracket team. Yes, they've never played in low ink before, but they are the Div 5 runner-up in the world group, winning every single match leading up to grand finals, including sweeping their group that included Squid Knights, Dream Knights, and Kraken Warriors. The reason why I'm putting them dead middle at number 5 is because none of the teams they played in Ludi are currently signed up for this low ink, besides the Wiggly Phantoms. So this will be, we don't really have a true meter measurement to kind of compare the wins they got versus the teams they're actually going to play in low ink. I think they will flex though, but best of 3 sets are not the same as best of 9 sets that you have a full week to prepare for. We're going to see who the Ink Luminatis really are this weekend, but don't be surprised if this Div 5 runner-up wins a tournament that is for Div 5 and below teams, even if they've never played in low ink before. Number 4. Who is serious, you ask? It's not fair to say that they are the reincarnation of 3AM, the team that finished 4th place last month, only losses on Sunday coming as a close 3-2 loss to Ink Reapers and 2-1 loss to Fruit Punch. Teams that finished 1st and 2nd respectively last month. But this pretty much is 3AM. 3 of the 4 members are from that 3AM squad, with another member coming over from Riot. So yes, new team playing in their first low ink, but all these guys are used to getting success in low ink, especially in alpha bracket. They played a few tourneys earlier this month as well in SOS where they won Lantern bracket and a testing ground. So this won't be their first tournament that they've played together as a team either. But don't be surprised if you lose to a team you've never heard of called Sirius this weekend. I have a feeling we're going to be seeing their name come up a lot on Sunday. And can I just say that I'm glad 3 a.m. doesn't exist anymore because we use Excel sheets for a lot of the stuff that we do. And 3 a.m. doesn't convert very well in Excel sheets. It literally changes it over to time. So Sirius, infinitely better name. It's at least going to show up. Number 3. Look, I'm just excited that the deep fried Octolings are even playing this month. It's been a while. They couldn't get enough players. They couldn't get enough guys put together to play last month. And 2 months ago, they had to drop Sunday. So if they finally get through a whole tourney without any technical issues, then we can finally see what these guys are capable of. Normally, what I've said about the deep fried Octolings is that if I wanted to see them make alpha bracket, then do some damage in alpha before I feel confident about putting them in my top 10. And they haven't done that yet. So why am I putting them at number 3? Well, they're popping off in other tourneys. In Squid Junction 7, they beat Div 4, Thimbo IHOP, and InkSync, as well as OK Woomer and a pickup called Enemy Pass that was made up of Div 3 and Div 2 players. On top of that, in Ludi, they finished in 3rd place in Div 5 America, avenging a loss to Access Denied earlier in the season, and taking the eventual winner Dreamscape to a Game 9 in semifinals. These guys are coming into this low ink Hout. H-A-W-T, Hout. It's just an issue of can they keep 4 guys all the way through the weekend? Because it has been a while since they've done that in a low ink. Number 2. Citrus is one of those teams that has to deal with the pressure of knowing that they're playing on borrowed time in low ink. Most teams get banned from low ink before they win it, and Citrus doesn't want to be one of those teams. If they want to get that monkey off of their back this month, they need to show up on Sunday morning from the jump. There have been 12 low inks since we switched to the 2-day system that we currently have, making this month the 1-year anniversary of our current system. In those 12 tournaments, no team has ever won alpha by losing in the first round. We've had 2 months in a row where a team lost in the first round and made grand finals, but we've never had a team outright win low ink if they lose in round 1 of the winner's bracket. Only a handful have won by losing in round 2 of the winner's bracket on top of that. What has killed Citrus the past 2 months? They have yet to win a game in winner's bracket. They constantly lose in round 1, and they, to their credit, rip loser's bracket apart. But if you're talking about actually winning this tournament, we need to see them start getting some wins early and often on Sunday morning. Now, we've seen teams win beta and gamma from losing in round 1 of winners before, but alpha is a completely different animal. You got to stream slowing things down a little bit, which adds to a little bit of fatigue for teams that are constantly playing in a loser's bracket. And obviously the added pressure that you don't get in beta and gamma. Citrus needs to do themselves a favor and show up and go out early on Sunday. Otherwise, they'll put themselves in a hole early that seems impossible to climb out of. But like I said last month, it applies to this month as well. They do still have the best roster in this tourney. But having the best roster isn't enough to put you at number 1 this time around. Speaking of number 1, if I don't choke on my water here. I have a joke with my friends. When they ask me something, when is something going to happen? Well, Popgun, when are you going to have a kid? I usually respond with this. When the Angels win the pennant. It's a line from this movie called Angels in the Outfield back in the 90s. Like, basically, this kid has a deadbeat dad, and he asks his dad, "Dad, when are we going to be a family again?" And he's like, when the Angels win the pennant. And God comes down and actually helps the Angels win the pennant, and the dad still doesn't come back to the family. It makes no sense. I'm getting off track here about 90s movies. Regardless, the Angels are not going to win the pennant this year. In fact, I think they're currently 4th in the AL West right now. I'm more confident, though, in the Fugatsu Angels' ability to win low ink this month. I'm surprised with how much they've improved since their first low ink in January, where they finished 3-3 and failed to make Gamma. They have since gone on to make Alpha 2 months in a row, finishing 5th in April and 3rd in May. And yes, they did get upset by Squid Knights in round 1 of the Ludi Div 5 playoffs, but that doesn't erase the fact that they earned the number 1 seed in those playoffs by dominating their group, going 25-4 per game. The only cause for concern, like every other team that is here, is can they survive Saturday, because they barely did that last month. They went 4-2 last Saturday, almost lost to Broken Controller Gaming in round 6, 2-1, which they had to put, which would have put them at 3-3 and somewhere down in Gamma bracket. But if they can survive, I think they should be considered the favorite on Sunday. Now, like I say every single month, if I'm wrong about something, if I completely missed the team, if I got someone completely wrong, and you want to let me know about it, guess what? You don't have to DM me. I commentate grand finals of low ink. I see everything that happens in this tournament. I always apologize. On Monday, the next episode of the Popcast, when I get something wrong, and I give credit to the teams who earn it this weekend. So, if you're somebody who is excited about this upcoming low ink, make sure you check the low ink recap that is going to be this upcoming Monday. And I'll apologize to Citrus when they're the team that actually wins it and not the Angels. Regardless, if you would like to be a part of the podcast in any way, if you're a TO like Echo who wants to come in and have a great conversation, if you're just somebody who has a hot take that you feel like would be interesting to give, or if you're a team that wants to be interviewed, I haven't done a few team interviews in a while, feel free to reach out to me in my socials below. Twitter at Mr_Popgun, Discord at Popgun, #5882, YouTube at 25Popgun, Twitch at Popgun25. Anchor.fm/Popgun for those of you who like listening to me and not looking at my face. Let's go find somebody to raid. Let's just find somebody doing Splatoon that we haven't raided before. I don't know any of these people. Let's just go to this guy. Let's type this up. This dude sucks. It's not my fault. Thank you for watching. Thank you once again to Echo for coming in and having a great conversation earlier. Make sure you guys keep wearing a mask. Make sure you guys get vaccinated. Make sure you guys don't do anything stupid. Hey, I told you not to die between now and the last episode. Congratulations, you're still alive. Try to do that for the next episode. Please don't die.